So our internal and external coaches, this coaching model I talked about, the internal coaches are typically a staff member, maybe a teacher, school counselor, someone who is school-based. And then our external PBIS coaches are more of maybe a liaison between a division and the school. So they could be a school social worker, school psychologist. We have educational diagnosticians. It could be an educational diagnostician, a substance abuse worker. So any one of those positions could be an external PBIS coach. And they really lead the PBIS team. They facilitate that knowledge gain. So they come to required coaches meetings that we host division-wide. And then they take back all that information to their school-based PBIS team. And we hope that they're building capacity within their team so that if they're not there or if the coaches have to change for some reason, the team can still go on and facilitate the implementation of PBIS. In talking with some other school divisions, they don't have this one-to-one coaching model, or maybe they have one PBIS coach for 10 schools. And I think one of the main benefits of having this coaching model is that these positions and these staff are really tied into that school. They know what's going on in the school, they understand the culture of the school, and they're trusted staff members at that school. So I think that definitely increases the likelihood that PBIS is being implemented with fidelity. I talked a little bit about our strategic school support. And like I had mentioned, we do site visits and we also attend school-based team meetings, PBIS team meetings, which occur monthly at the school level. We provide assigned coaching support as well. So we have 3 required coaches meetings a year. There's a fall, winter, and spring meeting. And then we have optional coaches meetings throughout the year on various topics that come up. So it could be maybe how to complete the tiered fidelity inventory for our new coaches, or it could be database decision-making, leadership skills, how to communicate data to administrators, that type of thing. Our division level support really comes through the Office of Multi-Tiered System of Supports, as well as our Department of Pupil Services. It's very helpful that PBIS is mandated in our system because that means the support comes right from the superintendent as well. We also host an annual administrator meeting. We just had it this week, where we invite all administrators, principals, assistant principals, deans, division level administrators. We invite them to come to more of like a workshop where we talk about what we've been doing throughout the year, because we don't always get to see the administrators when we're meeting with our coaches and PBIS teams at the schools. So this really gives us an opportunity to share what the coaches have been doing, as well as have the administrators see what other schools are doing, because they're always asking for that time. Well, I want to know what these other high schools are doing with PBIS. How do they implement Tier 2 interventions, that type of thing. So we provide them with kind of mini workshops where they can network with other administrators, other schools, and see what's happening. And then I had talked about that 2-day training for new schools. How are we doing? Is everyone out there doing okay?
No questions yet, Lisa. I've been checking.
Okay.
Hopefully everyone's just attending to your great information.
Great. So what do we use for data? We use a lot of different sources of data. Many PBIS school systems use the SWIS application, SWIS, which is a student information system for PBIS. We don't use it mainly because discipline incidents have to be inputted into our student information system. So we didn't want for administrators or other staff to have to enter twice into two different applications. I believe I understand now that SWIS lets you pull from a school-based information system, but we just haven't gone there because we've built out our own data application system. And so what that data application does is pull all the discipline information from our student information site. And then we can look at the information in graphs, tables, just really get a good idea of the who, what, when, where of our discipline incidents. And I'll show you an example in just a moment. We also have an annual stakeholder survey, climate survey, really looking at how students, parents, and staff feel about the school. And so we gain that information every year, and we're able to disaggregate that information by ethnicity, special education status, English learner status, homeless status, and really break down and see what subgroups are feeling in different areas and at different schools. So that provides a lot of great information, and the schools also use that information to base their school improvement plans off of. I had talked about the tiered fidelity inventory. That's our district level and school level fidelity measure. It gives us a lot of good information, especially as we move towards implementing more of a tier 2 and tier 3 level of PBIS. And tier 2 is more of those group supports. Some kids need a little bit more support than just the core. And then tier 3 is really an individualized level of support. Sometimes that could be special education. Sometimes it's functional behavior assessments and behavior intervention plans, but really more of an individual-based support. Another way that we gather data on how schools are doing with behavior and with PBIS is a walkthrough that we borrowed from the state of Florida and modified it to suit our needs. That walkthrough is looking at, are expectations visible in the school? Do students know what the expectations are? When you ask them, hey, what are our expectations for the school, or what does ROAR mean in our school, that type of thing. And during the walkthrough, we also asked teachers a number of questions to see if they know the expectations, if they've taught those expectations, and if they've seen discipline data. Because we expect for our PBIS teams and our administrators to share that data on a monthly basis with all staff. We also have a discipline disproportionality calculator and a violation report by student subgroup, which lets us see where we have disproportionality. So when we're looking at disproportionality in referrals, office referrals, and also in suspensions, we want to know what type of violation led to that referral or to that suspension. So throughout the country, and definitely here in Loudoun, one of our biggest violation categories is disorderly conduct. And so that includes a lot of subjective type violations like disrespect, defiance, inappropriate language, disruptive demonstrations, all things that one teacher might think is violation worthy, and another teacher might not. So we're pretty disproportionate in that particular category for a number of subgroups. So that's definitely something that we work on. This is just an example of what our PBIS data application looks like. You can see on the left, there are a few tabs. There's a who, what, where, and when tab. And I had opened up the who tab for you so you could see all the different ways that we can look at our data. The very first one under who by range of students gives us the number of students who have received 0 to 1 referral, 2 to 5 referrals, and then 6 or more referrals. And this helps schools tier support for those particular students. We can also look at data by different subgroups. In this particular one that's displayed, you can see the number of students who were referred in blue and the number of students suspended in green. This was for the whole year last year, and then broken down by ethnicity. So that gives us a quick idea of what's going on in the system. All of our PBIS team members, PBIS coaches, and school-based administrators have access to this data application. And so what they do is they take a look at what's going on in their school each month, and then this data is presented to staff to have discussions on. And this also guides the PBIS action plan that we have in place. Kind of like a school improvement plan, but just really focused on PBIS. This data application also helps schools see what violation categories are happening, but also where in the school they're happening and when. So the data might show that the referrals are happening in the cafeteria at lunchtime, which would make sense, right? So that way the school can say, oh, we're going to focus on the cafeteria, and then they can monitor whether or not their referrals go up or down. PBIS is a world of triangles. We're just inundated with triangles for everything. And so this triangle on the left is really showing what the national data looks like, where 80% of our students are able to function well with just what's provided for everybody, that primary prevention, intervention. And then about 15% of the students need a little bit more. Groups, some counseling groups possibly, or intervention groups. If you've heard of an intervention called check-in, check-out, it's really a kind of a mentor-mentee model that might be used for that 15% of students. And then we have overall nationwide about 5% of students that really need individualized prevention and intervention. In Loudoun County, our triangle looks a little bit more green. So 96% of our students have 0 to 1 office referral, with about 90% having no office referrals at all. And then about 3% of our students have had 2 to 5 office referrals, and less than 1% have received 6 or more office referrals, and that's all for behavior. We also calculate the instructional time that is saved by decreasing the number of office referrals, number of discipline referrals. And so we've been tracking this data since 2007, but I just put up the last 3 years here for you. So since 2007, what this is saying is that we have saved about 93 days of instructional time. So that's calculated by estimating that each discipline referral takes about 20 minutes to process. So 20 minutes of the student being out of the classroom, 20 minutes of the administrator working with that student and processing that referral. And we know that some discipline referrals take much longer than 20 minutes and some take less, but the average is about 20 minutes. And so that's how this is calculated. So we've saved a lot of instructional time and a lot of administrator and staff time by reducing our office referrals. Much of this was done by teaching students the expectations and by being consistent with our follow-through of those expectations and providing them feedback. And also giving teachers more strategies to use within the classroom to manage behavior within the classroom instead of sending kids out to the office to have that behavior managed. So really building teacher efficacy as well as capacity to deal with these situations.